Many of you, I hope, know Xenogenix. It's just a quick introduction for those of you who don't. So my name is Dwayne Schneerpool. I'm one of the senior consultants at Xenogenix. These are the specialisms that I focus on, so Sales Cloud, Service Cloud, CPQ, and Force.com. Xenogenix as a company has been around since 2002. We became a Salesforce partner in 2007 after becoming a customer first. And then the business quickly morphed into being a Salesforce partner. We're a silver partner, which means that we have more than 12 certified consultants. And we like to think that we're small enough to care, but big enough that we can help a lot of people. So we've done over 200 implementations, got over 300 customers. We're mainly based in the southeast of England, but we do support customers across the world, as you can see. Again, this is just a little bit about our expertise and the sort of things that we've done. So our core is obviously the Sales Cloud platform and Service Cloud, and the sort of solutions that bolt onto that, like CPQ or Pardot or customer or partner communities. We've also done integrations with ERP systems and finance systems and sort of web stores like Shopify and so on. And we've also built custom applications on the Force.com platform, both for ourselves. So Biz Console is an application that we've built for call center type environments, and also for customers where they wanted to extend the use of Salesforce further. All right. So that's enough about us. Now we'll get into why everybody's here. Is how can CPQ help our business, essentially? So the main thing about CPQ is it's a quoting tool at its very core, and many customers that we work with have a real problem with this. And the question we always ask, or mainly two questions we ask, is how do they quote today? Most of them will say that they work on spreadsheets or Word documents. Some maybe have quite whizzy macros within their Excel documents, and then they do sort of quite complicated pricing stuff. But managing those tends to be a big problem. So in the traditional sense, people would be quoting on these sort of spreadsheets or Word documents. And the real challenge that customers face is when you get new people starting on board, or you've got people that are maybe less experienced, or you're getting people that are just in a high pressure, working under a lot of pressure to get deals out quickly, coming to the end of quarters and so on. They find themselves sort of fumbling at the bits a bit. So the key things when you look at traditional quoting versus CPQ is trying to figure out what products are best for the customer, and what sort of permutations or configurations of those products might be applicable to that customer. Then sort of consulting spreadsheets or other documents. I've been into customers where they don't even have a spreadsheet of the actual prices for their products. They have to go and look through several documents to actually find the products for all the products that are actually in that quote. And then determining whether or not a customer is actually eligible for a discount, or if we could get them a better discount if they were maybe to increase the volume or subscription length, for instance. Just trying to figure out all of that sort of stuff tends to be a blocker in terms of getting those quotes out quickly. And then if it's very large discounts, sort of having a review period of that, where it maybe needs to go to bid review or to the directors to actually look at that and process that. And that process itself could take a while, because it's all done offline, and they have to wait for meetings for all of that to happen, where you could have all of that together in a structured way. And then finally, once everything's been approved, then actually creating the document itself before you send it out to the customer, that too seems to sort of take a while in a lot of cases, where they have to produce a Word document and convert it into PDF. It has to go to marketing to make sure it's fine, and then eventually it goes out to the customer. So those are some of the traditional errors that come up. There are some tangible things. So inaccuracy is one of the key key areas where we find that CPQ can actually help. So inaccurate quotes do cause a lot of problems for salespeople, because yeah, once you've sent out a price, the customer is never going to expect it to go up, unless they add into it, but they will ask for discounts in most cases. Small typos could mean that the contract gets delayed, could mean that they just hundreds of other questions then pop up, and it just delays the whole cycle, or costs money by lost opportunities. Manual quoting, there's a high risk element to that, in sort of typos, spelling mistakes, the wrong configuration of products, the wrong calculation of quantities or discounts or pricing. All of those sort of things add to just slowing the deal down and potentially losing those deals. And in contrast, when using CPQ, nearly 100% of the quotes that our customers are sending out are accurate and correct. And the only thing that maybe went wrong was actually the requirements gathering. So that's just human error again. Then loss in time and money. So there's that old cliche saying, time is money. That's particularly the case with salespeople. Salespeople are, and I can say this with a level of confidence, we're selfish, we're very driven, but if it's not making us money, we're probably not going to do it, or we're going to try and find shortcuts around that. I know that because I managed the sales team for a very, very long time. And that was exactly the way that they worked. And I find that a lot still in the customers I work with, is that if there's a shorter way to do it, it might not be the best way. Salespeople will generally take it, and if it means that they've got a template that they're using that's Word that is quicker than an Excel spreadsheet that the company wants them to use, that they tend to use whatever is quicker and more familiar to them. Manual quoting can just sometimes take a very long time. I had a customer last year that it used to take several days to get a quote out because it needed to go through various departments to actually get that document constructed properly, the prices added in, the quantities calculated properly. In some cases, it took a week to get that document out. And then after that, it was a quick turnaround. It came back within a few days. But just getting it out the door just seemed to take a long time. CPQ can automate a lot of the process in terms of selecting products, calculating the pricing, calculating the quantities that products need to be sold in, or even products that need to complement one another. The CPQ can help with that sort of guided selling approach, which I'm sure Mark will cover. Most of the time, sales reps want to just do things quickly so that they can get back to what they're actually wanting to do, and that's sell. So in a lot of cases where we can reduce the length that it takes to create quotes, we can reduce that from sort of days or hours into minutes, and then giving salespeople time back to do the prospecting, to do the follow-ups, to build that rapport with customers and ultimately sell more. Unapproved discounts. This hurts a lot of companies that I've worked with over the years. Salespeople, as I say, we're naturally selfish people. We're looking out for ourselves, and they'll do just about anything to get the deal over the line. And if that's sneaking in a discount that maybe doesn't represent what the business needs in terms of margin or something like that, they'll try and get away with it. So CPQ helps us eliminate that, and it helps us put in a governance around what discounts reps may able to give themselves, but then what discounts need to go up the chain for approval and so on. So implementing some sort of structured guidelines around discounts. And if there's advanced pricing, so things like volume discounts or percentage of total for subscriptions, or pre-negotiated contract agreements for maybe a set of products or all of the products, then that can be applied, and obviously channel and partner pricing as well. So if you are selling through distribution channels or or partners sell or buy from you to resell your services, then it's a very good way to sort of manage that. And again, it's not something that you have to rely on salespeople knowing. It's something that the system will allow them to do very, very quickly. So then there's a few signs as to whether or not you should or consider moving across to CPQ. One is if you have a team of people or a person reviewing contracts. That in itself takes up a lot of time. There's a lot of time saving there. It doesn't need to be a full-time job. In most cases, you just need somebody that quickly looks over addendums to a contract, for instance, or a quote that's been sent out, a proposal that's been sent out. But you don't need a team in many cases to actually do that. It can be sort of one or two people. And obviously, if somebody goes on holiday, it all gets blocked out and it sort of delays things even further. Inaccuracies in quotes just, again, slow the whole sales process down. It slows the momentum down. And customers don't like seeing mistakes. They want to see that they're working with a trusted person or a trusted organization, and inaccuracies in quotes just then starts breaking down that rapport that you've potentially spent months working on to develop. So getting rid of those mistakes is also key. If you want to increase revenue, increasing revenue it can obviously come in a number of ways. Selling more is obviously the easiest. And the easiest way to sell more is to save some time or give the salespeople time back. So if you can give them that time back, then they can sell more, they can prospect more, they can go and see more clients, and ultimately grow the business. If you're using Excel or Word, although these tools are very good, they've been around for decades. The functionality within them is sort of second to none in just about anything. But because they're so open, you open yourself up to a lot of errors, a lot of risks. And I've seen time and time again where people have got quite complicated spreadsheets, and that's how they produce their quotes, and even the PDFs get produced by them. But the person that originally created it or designed it has left the company, and they don't have any skills to actually change anything. And that spreadsheet and pricing may be 10, 15 years out of date. So then it still relies on somebody going into it after the document's actually been created and then producing something offline again. So again, just wasting time, creating unnecessary work for the people that need to do that. If you have salespeople that are on the road, they don't have a lot of time to sit in front of a computer and sort of construct a well-presented proposal that needs to go out. With CPQ, you can do that. You can literally sit in the airport or coffee shop, even in the back of a taxi, and you can stick the products in, choose the products, set some other parameters, and get the proposal out to the customer in a few minutes. So again, just helping your sales team be more mobile, be more productive, and close more deals, even if they're just working on phones and tablets. And then if your business is always looking for ways to improve, so streamlining business processes, streamlining just the way that they work, that your quotes get generated, or you manage your contracts, you manage your renewals, any of that sort of stuff. If you're just wanting to work smarter and faster, then looking at a CPQ solution is probably a solution that you should be considering. Okay, so some of the return on investments. Customers absolutely will get a return on investment. Customers like being the focus of whatever you're doing. And nowadays, every industry that we work with, they're all trying to transition into a customer focused, if they haven't already, or customer centric type organization. So putting the customer first and sort of putting their needs before everything else will help you close deals faster. Your operation and technical teams will also see this. So if you are working in sort of a sort of service delivery type environment, your operational and technical teams that would normally have to sign off on a quote, they can trust that those quotes are actually going to be correct from the beginning, and they then don't have to have the difficult conversations with the customer when you start delivering those services as to, well, we can't do this because, and then ultimately it goes back to, well, the quote was inaccurate from the beginning and it should never have gone out like that. So those teams will end up loving it because they can spend more time just delivering the services. The approvals team, there we can, in complicated deals, we'll never get rid of the bid approval team, but the time it takes to actually review all the documents and quotes will be cut down, and people will then actually just focus on the ones that are very complicated and really need to spend time on, and ultimately the other ones that can go through the system quite easily can be done. And then your sales teams. Your sales teams will love it, purely because they get professional, accurate looking proposals and quotes sent out. The renewals team within that can also manage their renewals on time, all the time, and in some cases automate that renewals process entirely. So just purely having a sales team that does both new and renewal sales. So there you're gaining them time back to sell more and ultimately make more money. And then you, regardless of your role, you may not have anything specifically to do with the sort of sales process directly, but you may be managing the products or the product configuration or the sort of price calculations or even marketing, just ensuring that the messages that go out are always correct and accurate. And at the end of the day, the whole company then benefits from it, because marketing is benefiting because the leads that are coming through aren't getting wasted. Sales are being more productive, operations and service delivery are being more productive, and ultimately customer services means that we don't need to deal with 101 other sales related questions, but rather things that are actual problems to the business. So I hope that gives you an idea of why CPQ might benefit your business and how it might fit in. There will be obviously a lot of use cases that we can't cover in quite a generic slide set, but in nearly every case it can actually help all businesses. So I'll hand over to Mark. I hope he's ready, and I'm sure he'll amaze us with his amazing demo.
Thank you, Dwayne. Thanks for that. Now, let me just share my screen with everybody. So let me just maybe introduce myself to the audience before we kick off, guys. My name is Mark Hoban. I currently manage the commercial business for our CPQ and billing products in UK and Ireland. So really appreciate everybody giving an hour of their time this morning. I know how busy everybody is. But really just to give you the context of what I'd like to walk you through today. I think we've got about half an hour, 40 minutes at a stretch. And usually when I'm speaking individually with customers and working on projects, I kind of usually take about an hour and a half to go through a proper flow of CPQ. So if we don't touch on some of the areas you'd like to see or like more detail on in this session, please feel free to reach out to me directly or the guys at Xenogenix, and we can organize something a little bit more bespoke for you all or for you individually. So absolutely no problem to do that under no obligation. So for today's demo walkthrough, just to set the context for you all, I'm going to be demoing for a company, a fictitious company that has moved to a SaaS model. So they are a software company, and they've transitioned recently to providing subscription-based offerings to their customer base. And what I'm going to walk you through initially is the front-end experience of CPQ. So as a salesperson, what I will do to actually get a quote generated, and show you how simple that is and how consolidated the effort is on our platform. And then if we can look at time, I'll show you once we win the business, how we contract, how we manage those subscriptions, how we create the renewals, how we can facilitate auto renewal, and also factoring in uplifts to a renewal. And then maybe we'll have time for some Q&A as well. So we've quite a lot to get through, and I've not the most time in the world, so I'm going to stop talking and start. So hopefully some of you, or maybe all of you, are familiar with Salesforce already. So I'm working on that presumption. So hopefully that is a correct presumption for today. What I'm going to do to start off our product walkthrough is I'm going to start on a standard prospective customer account record in Salesforce. So this is a basic record. It's for a non-customer account, let's say. And this particular customer, maybe I've met at an event, or I've been working with them on an ad hoc basis, but they've asked for a proposal or a quote nonetheless. So the first thing I'm going to do today, which again is standard Salesforce, I'll let you guys know when we've started the CPQ process itself, is I'm going to create a basic sales opportunity. So I'm just going to creatively give it a name. I'm going to give it a close date, and I'm also going to give it a sales stage. So we're at pricing and quoting, and I'm going to save. That's my basic sales opportunity created. Okay, so again, we're still in standard Salesforce. So important to note at this stage, guys, is that my sales opportunity has no data attached to it. So it's very much a skeleton opportunity. So there's no quote or product or contract renewal or order information. Okay, so it's important to remember that as we actually come to the end of the CPQ process. But maybe unsurprisingly, if I'm a salesperson and I want to start a new quote, I will click on the new quote button, as I'm going to do now. And I'm going to leave it as standard for today because I want to get through as much as possible and give you guys some time for Q&A. So I'm going to leave it at a 12-month subscription term. I'm going to add in the name of the person I'm sending my proposal to, who in this case is Michael, and I'm going to save. And now I've got my basic quote created as well, which is now ready for me to configure, price, and generate the quote documentation. But before I do that, I just want to show you how CPQ is already impacting the environment that I'm working in Salesforce. So on the quote record itself, we can already see an area where CPQ is impacting the quote. So here under the CPQ deal desk, we've got areas that we just don't get with standard Salesforce. It's waiting to be populated once I create the quote. So contract values, annual recurring revenues, margin percentages and margin in core currency, revenue loss to discounting, list price versus net selling price performance. So all of this now is embedded in the quote process because we're using CPQ, which you'll see after we actually generate the quote. So let's go ahead and start the quoting process. Or the CPQ process, and simply we need to do that, we simply need to click on edit lines, which will now start launching the CPQ capability on the Salesforce platform. So in this particular walkthrough, the first thing we're going to be brought to is guided selling. Now really, I suppose on a high level, what guided selling is the ability for you as a business to ask either sales qualification or product qualification questions of your sales team. And based on my input into the guided selling, the system will show me all of the products, the software packages, the bundles that match my criteria. So for example, if I change my answer to the first question I'm being asked here, so what business problem am I solving for my customer? If I change it from the standard one to say consolidate IT assets, you can see now dynamically the system recognizes that I'm no longer looking to sell a software package for time and expense. I'm actually looking to sell a server, and now it's asking me what type of server am I looking to sell. So that's just a visual example of how dynamic that can be. So I'm just going to leave it as standard for today. I'm selling time and expense software. My employee numbers have been pulled from the account record page dynamically, so I'm going to leave that as accurate for today. It's going to be a cloud deployment, and it's going to be maybe in the SMB space for just a change, and I'm going to click on suggest. Once I click on suggest, now because all of your product data is consolidated and managed centrally in Salesforce, that interrogates your product catalog and returns to the sales user all of the packages or software bundles that match the criteria that I've inputted during guided selling. And in this case, we only have one product bundle, which is, as you can see here, it's a bundle of software, and the software name is the Time and Expense SaaS Suite. And that's the suite of software that I'm looking to quote and propose to my prospective customer. So in order to select that, I just simply need to tick the box and click on select. And now we're starting the C part of CPQ proper, which is the configuration part. So to give you guys context to what we're looking at, if we start up here, as I mentioned, the name of the product, or the bundle in this case, is the Time and Expense SaaS Suite. That's the name of our pre-configured software package or software bundle, okay? Within that pre-configured package or bundle, in this example, I've got 4 what we call product features. And for today's walkthrough, the product features are my licenses, my add-on modules, my training features, and my professional services features. So all of those features, or those areas within my bundle, are now the areas where I, as a salesperson, could go and upgrade or upsell from the standard specification of my software package to my customer. So each individual feature has what we call options included in the feature. So again, my options are the areas where I can try and upsell or change from the standard spec of that package, okay? Now each option or each feature has the capability through our product logic engine to manage complexity, such as minimum, maximum rules, dependency rules, exclusion rules. So just to give you a little sense of that, I won't go too in depth for this for today because of time, but just to give you an idea of some of the logic that we can bring to the system, I'll show you a couple of items now. So the first thing you'll notice, guys, is before I even touch or try to change the configuration, the system has already included some line items or options for me. So if we look at this line item or option here, you can see that it's been pre-selected. The box has been grayed out. But what that means from a salesperson's point of view is that it's a mandatory line item. So it's a pre-configured mandatory part of this software package. So you would expect that because this is the licenses line item. So it'd be difficult to sell a bundle of software without licenses. I'm sure you would all agree. So I cannot remove that. But what I can do at my own discretion is to change the number of seats on it if I wish to do so. So again, I cannot remove it, but I can change the number of users or the number of seats if I wish to do so. Another example of some of the logic in what we call a prompted or a recommended selling environment would be the line item above it. But as you can see, it's been pre-selected for me as well, but I can remove it at my own discretion or at the needs of my customers. So these pre-selected line items are what we call recommended, or what the business is trying to prompt the salesperson to include as part of a package or bundle for revenue or margin optimization, but it's not mandatory in this case. So it's not technically required or mandated to make the configuration valid from an order point of view. So I can remove that line item if I wish to do so. So that's just the 2 quick examples of some of the logic that's applied automatically without the salesperson needing to be involved in any way, shape, or form. Another example quickly of a product rule, and then we'll move on to the second part of this process, would be around what we call dependency rules for product lines. So if you have any complexity in the items or the products that you sell, so one product line will only be available when another product or option is selected, that's exactly the complexity that CPQ simplifies on our platform. So to give you an example of that, if we look at the add-on section, you can see we've got 4 individual product line options. Under training, we've got 2 product options. However, when I select this product line or this option under my licenses feature, what you'll see then is the logic or the rule engine kicking into play, and including an extra line item under add-ons and an extra line item option under training, because those 2 line items are wholly dependent on this line item being part of a configuration. So again, hopefully I've explained that in a relatively simple way, but essentially what that means is we only show your salespeople options that are relevant to what they're configuring. So why would we show all of the options to a salesperson and confuse them when they're not going to be choosing all of the options, or some of the options they cannot choose because of a technical limitation? So again, we really make it a succinct, easy process for your salespeople to put together a package or a bundle, okay? So I'm not going to go into too much more detail around product rules for today, just for time, and I'm just going to save my configuration. Once I save my configuration of my software package, I'll be now brought to the second part of CPQ, which is the pricing page. So as you can see, hopefully here, guys, on screen, Everything that I have included as part of my software package or bundle has been brought across, as have all of the quantities, and importantly in this case, as have all of the list unit prices as well as the net selling prices. So the first thing I'm going to show today around price automation and maybe discount automation is what we call scheduling of prices or discounts. So if we look at line item 3, guys, which again is the licenses line item, you can see here I have a quantity of 450 seats or users at a list unit price of $60 per unit per month, or per user per month. But the net selling price has been automatically reduced to $52.50. So again, I haven't had to engage with the system. The system has done that automatically. But what has happened there? Well, what has happened is that the business has created what we call a discount schedule for the licenses product line. And if I show you what that discount schedule looks like, you can see that it's based on a tiered usership or a volume usership, which will equate to a discount for that particular product. So if we look at tier line item 5 on this schedule, you will see that any number of users or seats between 351 and 500 will automatically qualify for a 12.5% discount. That's just one way out of many ways. Again, our pricing engine is very, very broad and robust in Salesforce CPQ that we can simplify and automate a pricing mechanism. So that's what we call a discount or a price schedule. And again, the salesperson doesn't have to email a manager or email a pricing team. The system will automate that calculation for the salesperson, so I don't have to worry about it. So that's just one example. Another example around discounting or pricing would be, what if I want to apply a further discount? So say if I wanted to give a 10% discount on my licenses, and perhaps I wanted to give a 28% discount on, or a 29% discount on my reporting tools. When I input my percentage, it can be either in percentage or currency, and I click on calculate, the system will now tell me in real time, hey Mark, you're okay to give 10% on your licenses, so you don't need an approval for that. But however, the 29% is going slightly beyond the pale in what you're allowed to do based on your user profile and the rules we've created for this product line, so you will need a manager's approval for that. So again, in real time, I can see what I can and cannot do. And again, negating the need to send emails or pick up the phone, because the system is telling me all the time what I can and cannot do. So again, instead of maybe disturbing my manager, if I reduce my discount need on that particular line item to maybe 5%, we can now see that I have no need to bother my management team or the business with an approval process, because I'm allowed to do that at my own discretion. So that's kind of what we call individual product line discount requests. However, if I reset that, and let's say my customer has given me a budget. So they said, you know, for argument's sake, you can see here the value of my quote at the moment is just over 312K. Let's say for just conversation purposes, they said we've got a budget of 310K. What I can do at this level is put in a total amount that my customer is looking to work to, and I can click on calculate. And what the system will do then is, guys, it will intelligently go through my bundle and discount the line items that are discountable to see if I can get to that target point without needing an approval. Now, again, bear in mind, guys, we can margin and revenue protect certain products. So you can see here that certain product lines are padlocked. So that means they're non-discountable. So whether that's your warranties or your training or certain margin-rich products that you don't want to be discounted, you can choose as a business to protect product lines on the product line level from discounting. So that's how it kind of in-depth and down to detail you can get to the individual product line from a price perspective. So here I can see that that target amount is achievable for my customer, and I don't need an approval. So again, for time, I'm going to maybe skip through some of the other things I would speak to about around pricing for today, and I'm just going to save my pricing. And now we're going to be brought back to the original quote that I created. So now I've gone through my configuration of my software package. In that process, I mightn't have articulated at the time, but I've put together and configured a bundle that has recurring revenue products. I've had usage-based or consumption products, and I've had one-time revenue products as part of that bundle. Again, that's something that CPQ allows you to do as a business that you can't do with standard Sales Cloud or standard CRM. You're selling different types of revenue products together as part of a package, and they're going to be treated very differently and individually when it comes to invoicing ordering, and contracting, which you'll see later on. So now my quote's ready to be sent. But before I do that, I want to show you the deal desk. So now if you look at the deal desk on my quote, we can now see the outputs that are coming from the quote automatically every time a salesperson creates a quote using CPQ. So again, this is now standard Salesforce data. So everything that I'm showing today, guys, is out of the box functionality. There's no coding or customization, which is super important to be aware of. But now the business can start reporting on things like annual recurring revenue, monthly recurring revenue. I can report on my margin performance in core currency and in percentage. I can see what revenue I'm losing to discounting, again, in percentage and core currency. I can monitor and report upon my list selling price versus my net selling price performance. Again, this data is now standard Salesforce data, and you can use it for your reports and dashboard purposes in Salesforce. We can even get down, in this case, it's to the product category, but it can be to the product line level and report upon revenue or margin. So in this case, I'm summarizing performance of revenue by product category. So I can see how my software is performing, my professional services, and my training. So again, this is all automatic outputs with CPQ every time your salespeople create a quote. And this just gives you additional insight to the quoting process and the ability to report down to the line item level on margin, revenues, profitability, and that type of thing. So let's go ahead and generate our actual proposal document. So again, I'm not going to go into too much detail about things. I'm going to go relatively quickly. So we support multi-language and multi-currency. We support dual output. But for today, I won't go into too much detail other than to show you the output document. And again, as Dwayne said during the slides, I could be doing this on my iPhone, on my iPad. You don't have to be sat at your desk. And you don't need to re-architect the system, importantly. It's mobile ready. So again, forgive the output. This is 100% tailorable and customizable to your own product schemes, your color schemes, etc. But this is purely just for demo purposes today. So my output document has got an introductory cover letter or cover page. We've got an introductory cover letter, which again is fully customizable, but we won't go into that detail for today. And again, here's the output of my quote. So in this case, it's broken down by product category. It's given a summary total. And then at the end of it, it's obviously got a full total as well. So you can see everything's broken down. And again, even the output cadence of what you want to share with your customer is fully customizable. You could do line item pricing. You could show any discounts that are given. You could just do one line item with one price. So again, even the output document is fully controllable by you and the business. If we come down the document really quickly, our terms and conditions are automatically pulled in as well. And then if we come down our lengthy terms and conditions, in this case, we have our electronic signature blocks embedded into the document as well. So if you want to digitize this process using DocuSign, CongaSign, Adobe Sign, any of those guys, you can do that as well with Salesforce CPQ. So let's go ahead and just save this quote. And now what we're going to do, guys, is we're going to go back to the original opportunity where we first started. So if you recall, that opportunity was very much a skeleton opportunity. It had no information attached to it, such as products or quotes or contracts of the like. So we're going to go back and revisit that and really show you then how CPQ automates a lot of process when it comes to when we win the business. So let's go back to the opportunity itself. So when we go back to the opportunity now, guys, and I refresh my page, because I'm working relatively fast here on a per Wi-Fi that I have at home, so bear with me. You'll now see that the opportunity has automatically been updated by CPQ. So the opportunity now has the correct value. It now has the correct quote, or the only quote, the quote that we just built. It's now got all of the products that we've just put together as part of the quote as well, and the actual physical quote document we've sent to the customer. So again, from a salesperson's point of view, it's brilliant because I don't have to remember to update my opportunities or ensure that my values are correct for my pipeline. But from the business point of view, it's ensuring that your forecasts will always be accurate, because your CPQ quotes will automatically be retrospectively added to your opportunities. You can have, just in case somebody's going to ask it, you can have as many quotes attached to one opportunity as you wish to do so. But only one of the quotes will be marked as the primary quote, and that quote will be the one that's used for reporting purposes. So I could have, in theory, 200 or 300 quotes on this opportunity, but only one of those quotes will be used for reporting purposes, and that will always be the primary quote, just in case somebody had that question once we get through the session. So from here, let's go ahead and fast forward to where we win the business. So I'm going to close win manually this opportunity. So I'm going to close win it manually. I'm going to do one other thing manually as well. Automation doesn't really demo very well, so I'm just going to do this manually. I'm just going to tick the ordered button on the opportunity as well. And once I do this, I'm going to bring you guys now back to what is now a customer account. And we're going to see everything that CPQ has automated in the customer onboarding process, let's say. So let's go back to the account record page. And let's see everything that CPQ automates and consolidates onto the platform in one place. So we've got the opportunity we've just closed. We've got the quote that we've used to facilitate closing that opportunity. We've now got a contracted customer, which I'm going to come back to in a second. We've now got all of the subscription products that the customer has purchased from us articulated on the account, as all of the assets that they purchased, which in CPQ language, assets are basically products that have a one-time purchase price only. And now, importantly, we've also got an order created on the system for this particular customer. So all of that activity, your order creation, your subscription management and application, your contract creation, all of that has now been automated and managed centrally by Salesforce CPQ. Okay, so the first thing I want to show you around the two master objects when it comes to CPQ, which are the contract and the order. Let's look at the contract object to start with. So if I jump into the contract, this is where you will start to govern things like the auto renew function, uplift percentages, your renewal management. So let me show you what I mean by that. If I go into the details of the contract, first of all, here's where you will be able to facilitate and set up things like auto renewal. So again, lots of our customers that are in the SaaS, the software, or the space where they have some sort of subscription or renewal process, they want to have the ability to auto renew or not auto renew. And this is where you would set it up as a business to have a 60-day notice, a 30-day notice cadence, whichever way you wish to do that. This would be reflected on the contract in CPQ. So that's the first thing. We can set up auto renewal as a default setting for your renewals via our contracts. What you can also do then is set your renewal uplifts. So you can set the renewal uplift. So in this case, I've set it at 3%. So upon renewal, if the customer does renew, we will automatically apply a 3% uplift to the recurring revenue products that are on the contract. So again, I'm not going to get into too much detail for today because, as I said, we're quite limited on time. But again, if you want to see any more detail or more in-depth understanding of this, please reach out to myself and Xenogenix. We're very happy to oblige and help you with that. So from the contract point of view, that's some of the things we can regulate with the contract, which is the renewals, the auto renew, and the renewal uplifts. What we also regulate with the contract, because I term the contract in Salesforce CPQ as a living, breathing object. So what I mean by that is anytime you make add-ons, upgrades, amendments to the contract, they will in real time be added on to the contract, and they will importantly be co-termed and prorated against the existing end date of the current contract. So the amendment process is something we have spent a lot of time in CPQ in making a very elegant and seamless solution for our customers. So what I mean by amendments is, do you have upgrade concepts in your company? Do you have the concept of add-ons or changes to contracts where you don't necessarily want to do a new contract, but you want the calculations for coterminous and proration considerations to be factored in to an existing contract? CPQ manages that very, very well. And again, for time, unfortunately, that in itself would almost be a demo. But again, if you want to see the detail behind that, please do let me know. And then the final thing around the contract that I have time to speak about is the creation of a renewal. So again, I'm manually going to show you this now, guys, but this would happen as part of a workflow or automation in a real world deployment. And all I'm going to do is simply tick the renewal forecast button on the contract. Again, that will happen automatically as part of a workflow. And once I save that tick box in the contract for the renewal forecast, and I go back to my customer's account, we will now see that the renewal opportunity has been created for me automatically. And again, if I wanted to pull in the renewal value, I would just simply tick another button, which would be the renewal quote creation, where it would automatically pull in the quote and the correct value for the recurring revenue products associated to this contracted customer. So that's how simple it is. I've done that manually, but that would happen automatically as part of a flow with CPQ, because as I said, automation doesn't demo very well. So I have to slow it down and show you manually. So that's basically the contract importance. So that's the first one of our master objects in CPQ, which is the contract object. The second master object in the CPQ world is the order. So the order object is, as I like to explain it, guys, is the junction between CPQ and Salesforce and your billing and invoicing downstream activities. So when we go into the order object itself, what you'll see here is that when I view all, this is the data that would be sent downstream to your billing or invoicing tools. And the importance of the order object in Salesforce CPQ's world is, in terms of what it does, it calculates the billable unit prices. So, for example, if you sell a product that is over a 12-month term, the product costs £1,200 and it's paid monthly, the billable unit price for that product is obviously going to be £100. And that's the complexity that the CPQ fixes, because we work out those billable units during the quoting process and then send that downstream to your invoicing tool with the correct data first time round, without needing duplication of effort or manual re-entry of data to update the billable unit prices for your invoicing. So that's the order object in that sense. I just see a couple of chats coming up here. Do we have any chats? I'll just make sure. I've seen as I have them on, hopefully you can still see my screen. Yes, it's a good question, Anthony. So everything shown that I've shown today is out of the box and just needs in application or in Salesforce setup. So you're 100% on that. So it is standard functionality, no code, no Apex, no custom objects. It's all out of the box configuration. So thank you for that question. It's a very good one. And will the renewal pull the up-to-date pricing from the price book at time of billing? Yes, it will. And the nice thing about that, Matthew, is that the renewal, again, will automatically update during the life cycle of the contract with the customer, where if you've added on upgrades or add-ons, that will be prorated and co-termed during that contract. So the renewal opportunity will also update in real time every time an amendment is made to the contracted customer. So again, a very good question again. Thank you for that. And I'm just looking at time, guys. That's kind of what I wanted to show today in terms of going from an opportunity all the way through to actually contracting and creating an order on a system for a customer. I think we've about 5 or 10 minutes left. So Sarah, if it's agreeable for you, maybe it might be, actually, sorry, before I do that, on the back of all of that activity, from a business perspective, what we can now do, and I'll show this really quickly, is just we can now start to report on things such as renewals. So from a business perspective, this is just a renewals dashboard that I have created just to give a sense for the type of business intelligence CPQ can derive for customers. So for example, I can look at my renewal revenue for a certain year. I can break down my renewals by rep. I can see any expansion or add-on revenue that is added during the course of a renewal. I can see my discounts on renewals, etc. So again, all of this data now is standard Salesforce data, because you're broadening out the level or the richness of the data that you have on Salesforce because of all of the additional ability and capability that Salesforce CPQ brings to our platform. So from a renewals perspective, this all becomes reportable, standard data, and can be used on dashboards. Similarly speaking, from a sales operations point of view, I can start to really drill down into the activity of what happens with my sales team during the quoting or the pre-sales environment. So I can see average discounts by product line. I can see revenue loss to discount by certain accounts if I wish to do so. I can see trending discounts. I can see hard totals by certain product categories. I can see account executive discount averages. I can really get down to the granular detail of what happens during the quoting process, all the way down to individual product lines. So, and that goes for costs, margins, and revenues. And again, you just cannot do that without having CPQ on your platform. And it's one of the major advantages that our customers see with CPQ is the reporting and the business intelligence that CPQ brings to companies. So I know I've gone through a lot there, guys, and apologies, some of it's been high level, but that's been by design because, as I said, time is not really on my side for today. But it goes without saying that if any of you want any more kind of tailored or individual sessions, I'm very happy to support you under no obligation at a later stage over the next couple of weeks. With maybe we can do something individually or collectively with Xenogenix if you have any specific individual questions or requirements. So with that said, I'm going to hand it back over to Sarah for some Q&A, and just thank you for your attention and for the couple of questions that popped up in the chat. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mark. We have got a couple of questions that have come in on the Q&A that you haven't, I don't think you've answered yet.
Okay.
So we can see how CPQ works internally, but we've got a channel. Does it support partner and customer selling?
Oh yeah, super. Thank you for that, Sarah. So thanks for whoever gave that question. So yes, the nice thing about our solution and our capabilities with CPQ, guys, is that it is extensible and it is just standard Salesforce. So you can extend it to a community, whether that's for your partners or for your customers. And again, it's standard Salesforce. So in terms of that extension and that administration, it is just your standard Salesforce admin. So it's a great question. So if you wanted to facilitate your VARs or your partners to be able to use CPQ on a partner community, and for you guys to be able to put in guardrails and rigor and control specific partner pricing, specific partner abilities to see and quote on only certain products, you can absolutely do that with CPQ. As well, if you want to enable your customers to self-serve and self-order, you can absolutely do that as well. So it's a really valid question. So yeah, thank you for that.
We've also been asked if CPQ supports multi-year contracts.
Yeah, and again, just for time, Sarah, and for the audience, it absolutely does. It supports multi-year contracts out of the box. So if you're selling 2, 3, 4, 5-year contracts, you want to maybe ramp usership or deployment over a certain number of those years, absolutely it supports that out of the box. And again, just for time today, the technical term for that is multi-dimensional quoting. I just didn't have the time to go in and show you guys that, but yes, out of the box it supports that functionality, absolutely. And it also has the ability to then factor in your ability downstream for maybe looking at revenue recognition and deferred revenue over the course of a multi-year contract. We certainly contribute and assist to the accuracy of that downstream as well. But yes, multi-year quoting is standard with Salesforce CPQ.
Brilliant, thanks for that, Mark. So that brings us to the end of the questions. If there's no others coming in, then we shall call the webinar to an end. I will be sending out a recording of the webinar later on, so if anyone wants to watch it back, I'll get that sent out today, and we'll be in contact with each and every one of you just to talk through any questions that you might have. So thanks very much, everyone, and talk to you all soon.